Hello and welcome to my channel. It's the Network Specialist. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell so that you know each and every time I upload a video. Everything I will discuss in this video will be alleged and in my very own opinion. Hey Mama Bees, thank you so much for being here. Can you put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me? Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. There's a little lapse. Okay, you guys can hear me. Hey, Aries Girl Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. And Mama B says everybody decided to go live at the same time. Yes, that happens. That's kind of why you have to have your own audience. You know, so a lot of us have the same subscribers, so that does happen. And these social media streets have been very, very busy. There's a lot going on. But actually, this morning, I am here because I wanted to kind of follow up on the Ashley Braxton situation, um, and possibly do a panel at some point with some follow up. But this morning, I just wanted to just chat while having some coffee or whatever the case may be. So there's not a lot on the agenda, but that video is getting a lot of different reactions and feedback. So at some point, I would like to explore everybody's feedback from that video. Some people are saying that Ashley is looking for attention, and these are some of the comments that were left, up under the video. And people are still watching the video and they have a lot to say. And yes, Aries Girl Podcast is saying the block is hot in these YouTube streets. So, have you guys been following the story about Ashley Braxton? Mama Bees, I think you were on the live. I'm not sure if Aries Girl was on the live, but have you been following the story? And Aries Girl, how did your evening go on Friday? Okay. She says that she has been following the story. So, whose side are you more leaning towards, Mama Bees? Um, okay. She says that she was on the live that day. Okay. So, do you ladies kind of feel like Ashley should have stayed quiet and not, you know, discuss the family's dirty laundry or the family secrets, or and that she's, just looking for clout, or do you feel like that's her story and she should tell her story the way that she wants to tell her story? Like, how do you guys feel about that? And some people feel like now a lot of things make sense, as far as the family being very toxic and why Tamar acts the way that she does. And she's constantly saying that her family is toxic. And Aries Girl feels like it was her story to tell, pretty much how she wants to tell her story. Yes, and a lot of people are also blaming Miss E because they feel like a lot of the toxicity came from her and they kind of feel like she should fix it. Maybe they should have a private family meeting to discuss how they want to deal with this situation and maybe try to bring everybody together. And Mama B says it's difficult. I believe that for her healing, she needed to tell her story. Yes, because that could have been like a part of her healing process. That's like the final part of her healing is actually telling her story and putting it out there. And then a lot of people are saying that because she was victimized, but the only problem I have with people saying that she was victimized is, according to her, nothing happened. So, from what she said, it was a text message. Now, that doesn't make it any less wrong, but she became the person who victimized her sister. And, I do commend her for not only telling her story about what happened to her, but telling what she did to somebody else. Because she was a victim, she turned around and victimized somebody else. Now, some people that were in my comments feels like because actually Ashley was 16 years old, she was old enough, she knew what she was doing, um, and you know, she should have been able to shut the situation down. Um, but I believe that a lot of this does stem from her family's toxic, just the generation of toxicity and trauma in that family. So I believe all of the women in this family are traumatized. And that's why they have so many issues, especially when it comes to dating. Maybe she was looking for love, the love that she didn't get from her mom that left her, I believe, when she was like 9 years old, 19 years old. So sometimes when you're abandoned in that way, and then you have a new stepmom that's treating you some type of way, maybe she was just looking for love and acceptance. Now, since Ashley came out, there has been a lot of things that have come out about Gabe, and we still don't know who it is. She didn't name any names. People have just speculated, but there's some people that feel it could have been either one of those sisters' husbands or mates at the time. Okay, but a lot of things have come out about Gabe, about the fact that he likes men and women, and that, some young lady came out and said that Gabe was having a relationship with her transvestite relative. And when he tried to reach out to Trina and tell her that he blocked her. So it's been said that Gabe was into men and women and bestiality. Now, that's allegedly, I don't know how true that is, but I know the family did not like Gabe. And Mama B said she was on drugs, and that really clouds your memory. Everything she is saying may not be true. Okay, so you kind of feel like because she was on drugs, maybe she have a different, perspective of what happened other than what really happened. And Aries Girl said, Mama E has never healed from what her husband put her through. None of us can tell someone when to get over something. Miss Evelyn passed her toxic traits about marriage to her daughters. And I absolutely agree with that, Aries Girl. Um, I think all of the toxicity kind of started with her and her husband and what they were going through. And I know that I feel like Miss E may never find a new man just because she has this thing about men after what she went through with her husband. And it seems like she's never going to trust a man again, you know. So I feel like she was so embarrassed by what her husband did, him being a pastor and, probably cheating on her with somebody in the church and then leaving her for that person. And Miss E seems like she was the type of person that she really thought she was that girl. She thought she was all of that. So I think when her husband cheated on her and left her, like that was it for her. She was traumatized. She probably never thought in a million years that her husband would do that to her. So, and I guess she was going through whatever she was going through, and those girls probably had to feel the brunt of that because she was still very angry. So, I don't know what this family is going to have to do to heal. And I don't know when the new season is coming on. I feel like they need to take a break and they need to heal their family. Like, I don't even think at this point they should even come out with the new season. And Aries Girl says, I agree. Every man will be Michael Braxton to her. Every other woman is the babysitter. Got it. Yes. Because like everybody has tried to set her up because she's been single since her husband, and she's going to find something wrong with these men instead of just at her age trying to find companionship, maybe somebody that she can go and have dinner with, maybe go bowling, something like that. But she just can't seem to move on. And I think that is also affecting her daughters because, they have a hard time when it comes to their men as well. So, I don't know what this family is going to have to do, but it's getting bad. It's getting really bad, and now everybody is digging deep into their family history and bringing out all of their dirt. So I think it would be a good look, you know, if they plan something and kind of like let everybody on social media know that their family is, coming together so that they can have a conversation and they can heal and to respect their privacy. If they got together and came out and maybe made a statement like that, I think it would be a good look for the family because at this point, they can't hide the toxicity in their family. So at some point, somebody's going to have to come out and say something, or somebody's going to get mad because they're being dragged on social media, and somebody is going to have to make a statement. You just can't push this type of thing under the rug, especially when it's tied to your legacy. So at some point, somebody will have to speak. And Aries Girl says, remember, Miss Evelyn wouldn't even let Iana fix their life, and Tamar was acting like a 12-year-old brat. And to me, Tamar acts a lot like Miss E, to be honest. She acts a lot like Miss E. And she was the last one to be in the home because she's the youngest. So I think that Tamar is the one that really picked up a lot of Miss E's toxic traits, and they're still really close now. I know Tamar spends a lot of time at her mom's house if they don't even live together. So Tamar is a lot like her mom. And I hope Tamar, and somebody also left a comment that now they really understand Tamar. And I kind of feel that way too. That doesn't take away Tamar being accountable for her actions, but I can see how she became the person that she is coming from this toxic environment and really having an issue with men. And Aries Girl says, great point, the network specialist on Tamar. So at this point, I can't even blame Tamar. But what I am proud of Tamar for is the fact that, she's not afraid to let you know that she needs therapy and that she's in therapy. you know. So I think that this family really does have a problem communicating, and that's normal in Black families. Let's just keep it real. A lot of us have issues when it comes to communicating with our families, our siblings, or whatever the case may be. And sometimes you just have to remove yourself from anyone, that's causing you stress and anxiety, even if it's your family. So I think that's the reason why Tamar goes off and do her own thing. I completely understand why Tamar does what she does because at the end of the day, you know, your peace is everything. And if your family is, causing you anxiety, you just have to separate from them. Even during the filming of the Braxtons, they all did their own family photo shoot, and Tamar went off and she did her own, and they kind of put her into the picture with everybody, but she did not do the photo shoot with the family. She did her own photo shoot by herself, and they just kind of meshed the photos together. That's how much she really didn't want to do this. The Braxtons, she said it on multiple occasions. She went through a lot, even trying to commit, you know, the S word when the Braxton family values, was going along and after the fact. So she was very hesitant about doing this show again with her family. So I don't know if she decided to do it because of the money or she just didn't want to go against the grain, but there's a lot, that could be said about why Tamar did not want to do this new show with her family. And the brother Michael, like, I'm really not even sure why they even bring him into the scene. He doesn't really bring much. I think maybe they're just trying to give him an opportunity to get a bag because he doesn't say much, and if you're going through something as a girl and you have a father who will not communicate with you, like, who do you talk to? The mother is already gone. It's you, your father, and your abusive stepmother. So, who do you talk to when you're in a situation like the situation that Ashley was in? So, it really does seem like she didn't have anywhere to turn. So, I'm sure that was part of the reason why she moved to another country. But the fact that she plans to come back, you know, it makes me feel like she does want to reunite with her family. And if this is what it takes, hey, this girl needs a support system outside of, friends. So she really does need to reconnect with her family and, get things back on the right track. But at the end of the day, this is something that is not talked about enough in our Black families, and it happens in all of our families. So this is a conversation that needs to be had on a, more regular basis between you and your family. Hey, Sandra P. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. We're just following up about the Ashley Braxton video. Um, I got some really good feedback from that video in the comment section. And some people kind of think that Ashley is clout chasing and blame her because they feel like she was 16 years old. So she should have known how to handle that situation. But the part that gets me is that every time a situation like this happens, it always gets turned around on the young girl. Instead of people holding these men accountable, it always gets turned around on us like we did something wrong. So that's what's really upsetting. And Sandra P says, so disturbing. We should have known. Yes. And that is very disturbing for the women that want to blame Ashley for this and saying that at 16 she was old enough to know better. Like, that is really disgusting. She's still a child and she's being influenced by an adult. So, at no point, you know, does she have to be held accountable for this. And Sandra P says, Black women, I'm sure, shaking my head. I'm pretty sure too, and that makes you feel like when these women are dating a man that is the P word, whose side are you going to take? It sounds like that you would be the type of woman that would take the side of your man and not your daughter. And that sucks. And Aries Girl says, but was Gabe old enough and married enough to know better? Yes, Gabe was probably, I don't know how old Gabe was at that time, um, in question, but he was definitely old enough to know better. Definitely. Because keep in mind, Trina already had two kids before Gabe. So they were in an adult relationship. And, you know, Gabe did come across as being a sex addict. And again, people have come out to say that Gabe was into transvestites. He was gay, being with men and women, and that he was into bestiality. Now, I just heard this allegedly, and I don't know how true that is, but that is absolutely disgusting, and the fact that they were in this toxic relationship where it was kind of like they would just cheat on each other instead of just, moving on because obviously the relationship was not worth salvaging, for a while. They were just going back and forth with this toxicity and cheating on each other. And Sandra P said, absolutely, yes. Gabe was definitely a full grown man and he knew exactly what he was doing. And Sandra P says he seemed immature, also probably damaged as well. Yes, he did seem very immature. And honestly, Trina is very immature as well. Trina, I've been watching Trina for a long time. She's fun, don't get me wrong, and maybe that's just her fun side, but a lot of the times, Trina comes off as being immature as well. Trina is immature, Tamar is immature, so there's a lot of that going on within this family. And Sandra P says, I don't know if he was Native or Latino, but both cultures also have damage. He struck me as being more native, like he was Indian, just by his hair and his skin tone. He looked very odd. Remember, his hair was long and then he cut it off. It was like he was native, and when he cut his hair, it changed his whole look. Like he didn't even look like the same person anymore. And I don't think Trina liked it. And Aries Girl says, weird how women blame other women and place no fault towards the men who cheat. I have seen situations where a woman feels like her husband or boyfriend is attracted to her daughter, and she will literally kick her daughter out of the house. Like, I don't understand why some women are so desperate for a man that you would turn on your own child for a man that's still going to probably cheat on you. And Aries Girl says, I think he was Latino. Okay, so you think he was Latino? He could definitely go for both. But it seems like when he had the long hair, he looked more native, and when he had the short hair, he did look like he was more Latino. And I couldn't believe that Trina let him talk her into renewing their vows when they were on vacation. And Sandra said Trina and Vaughn almost have parent-child dynamics at times. You know what, Sandra P? I do watch their show that usually comes on Monday. And I kind of have mixed feelings about it. He comes across as being very controlling, yet I kind of like the way that he takes care of her. Does that make sense? Like, he has the controlling dynamic, but he has the, real man that takes care of his woman type of dynamic as well. So sometimes it's hard to read. Like, if you read the comments, a lot of people are going off saying that he doesn't let her speak. Like, they're dragging him in the comments, but then some people are saying that they love the way he takes care of her. So sometimes you can't tell which one it is. And Sandra said Mexican ethnicity also have native portions when I've been to Mexico. Yes, yeah, he definitely can look like all of those. And Sandra P says, very controlling, agreed. He's grown on me. He has definitely grown on me as well from when they first started their show. When they first started, like, I couldn't watch because I just can't stand a controlling type of man. So at the beginning, I started watching because I was also covering the show, but at some point I couldn't watch anymore because he was a little overwhelming for me, and he just treated her like a child and told her everything, told her what to do, and like it was just like she couldn't even think on her own. And he was always cutting her off and scolding her. So now I think they have a better dynamic and it flows a little bit smoother. So now I can actually watch. And Aries Girl says, I've seen other content creators talk about Trina and Vaughn and have never watched the show. Really? Like, They've never watched the show? Oh, you mean, are they, like, coming up with their opinion of them by watching their YouTube channel? Like, what are they speaking from? She says, "But, didn't Trina have to file bankruptcy or had some debt that he wouldn't help her pay?" Now, I'm not sure about that. And what I do like about Trina is she does not sit around and wait on no man. Like Trina will try to go and get a bag. She had her bar chicks. She was making music. Like Trina is always in her bag. And I love that about Trina. And Sandra said the Braxton family can be man eaters, but Vaughn won't allow that. Like how they treat Big Kevin and Andre. Huh. Yes, that could very well so be true, Sandra. It's just like he's a real man's man, like, and I like that about him. Like that you don't get any, you know, softness from him, or you know what I'm saying? He's a real man. And that part I love. And I'm hoping that that's what she loves about him because he's the exact opposite of Gabe. So that's probably what she sees in him. The YouTube channel in their home and intimate. Okay, so they're judging them from the YouTube channel. Okay, got it. Now, if you watch that YouTube channel and you don't know the backstory, like it would be hard to watch. And she said, "Sorry, I've never watched Trina and Vaughn." Okay, got it. Yeah, they have a cooking show that they do on Mondays. Um, and they did it this past Monday, even though Trina looked very, very uncomfortable. But I do think they work well together. He kind of take care of the behind the scenes. He's her food tester. And then sometimes they'll even have neighbors and friends come over and test the food. So I think the show is going well. And that's obviously another source of income for their family. And Aries Girl says, great point, Sandra. hmm Um, and I don't, as far as Trina, she should have been the main one trying to start a YouTube channel because she's always having financial issues that play out for the world to see. So, but when it comes to Trina, Trina is always out there getting her bag. And I'm not really sure what Vaughn does. I know he probably said it, but I just can't remember what it is he does for a living. But I think he's some type of professional, Vaughn. And Sandra P says, I'll start watching it more. It was good this week. I didn't know he traveled for work with cell towers. Oh, that's what he does. I was just saying, I really don't know what he does. Okay, so he travels for work with cell towers. Okay, so that's a good stable income. So it seems like they're actually doing well for themselves. I mean, they're not rich, obviously, but it seems like, they're definitely doing well for themselves. And she said episode they were on the couch and Trina was in torn jeans. One thing I like about Trina is she's always herself. She said, a couple of weeks ago, she got sister locks, and she said a lot of people told her not to wear her sister locks. They wanted her to actually put a wig on top of her new sister locks. And she says, no, I'm not doing that. She says about 11 different people told her, don't go on live with those short sister locks, and she says, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to be myself. And that's exactly what she did. I mean, she doesn't really like worry about her clothing. She does look nice, don't get me wrong, but she's just really not into all of that. She just loves to be herself. And that's what I like about her. And Sandra P says, still listening, but getting ready for the game with my nieces. Okay, no problem. And Aries Girl says, how long has Trina been married to Vaughn? Ooh, that's a good question. I want to say it's probably been about 4 years, but don't quote me on that. I'm just trying to think. How long has Trina been married to Vaughn? I should have been more specific. Uh, how long has Trina Braxton been married to her husband Vaughn? Oh, Sandra P says 5 years. Yeah, they got married in December of 2019. And Sandra P says he said he loved her natural hair, and I was glad he said it. Yes, and a lot of people in the comments were saying they like it too, and it looked nice to me. Yes, 2019, and she filed bankruptcy in 2023. Wow. You know, I mean, they must really be living beyond their means because I mean, oh, wow, that's kind of sad because it seems like he has a professional job. Trina does have some things going on, and she's been in that house for quite some time, so her home should almost be paid for. So I'm really not sure why they're having so much s- issues with their finances. And I can't believe that Tawanda is still with this man who don't seem like he's in any hurry to marry her. Now, guys, remember when a while back something came out and it was said that it was supposed to be something about Tawanda's husband and her daughter, something that was inappropriate. Did you guys hear that story? And Aries Girl says, I think it was just Trina's debt. Okay, so that's when you say that, he wouldn't help her pay her debt and Vaughn's money is just fine. Okay. But when you get married, you know, her debt becomes his debt. So he has to get on board because you marry her dad with helping her, try to figure out how to pay that debt. But did you ladies hear that story about Tawanda's boyfriend, Sean? Because I wonder if that story may be tied to this story with Ashley, or maybe they had the wrong sister because it was said that it was her daughter, that he was acting weird with Tawanda's daughter. Like, it is just weird that they keep having this situation repeat in their family. And they keep picking men that would, you know, try to come on to their family members. And Aries Girl says, I didn't hear about Tawanda's boyfriend. And I'm not saying that I don't like Sean for her, but Sean gives me weird vibes. It could just be me. I don't want to come off like, I'm suspicious of all men, but he really does give me weird vibes. And outside of being controlling, Vaughn doesn't really give me no weird, P word type of vibes. But Sean, on the other hand, he does give me a weird vibe. And I wonder how something like that would come to social media about Tracy's boyfriend Tawanda without them having a conversation and without her having to sit down with her daughter. Like that should have been the first thing that happened, you know, um, before it went to social media. So it makes me side eye him that that was able to get to social media before they were able to handle that situation as a family. And that could have something to do with the fact that they're not married yet, even though he went to her father and asked for her, hand in marriage or whatever the case. So I don't know. This family is really weird. And I wonder, are they going to include Michael's son from his new wife more on the Braxtons? Because otherwise, what do you guys think their next season is going to be about? Like, what is their storyline going to be about? Because it looks like they really don't have a lot going on to be able to carry a show from what I see. You occasionally see, Tony doing something, but Tony cannot carry this show, you know, and you occasionally see Tamar doing things, but even the things that Tamar is doing, it's really not show worthy. It's barely even worthy for her to put on social media and make a post about it. So I really don't know what they would actually talk about in this new season because, that story about Tracy has ran its course. Nobody wants to hear it anymore. And a lot of people feel like they're just, using Tracy to get a bag. And that's why she left her trust in her son's name because she didn't want her sisters to try to make money, off of her estate. And the other issue that I have is that we all seen the will. We seen the will on social media, and the sisters claim that Tracy didn't want a will. I'm sorry, not a will, a funeral, that Tracy didn't want a funeral. But in her will, in her estate planning, she said that she wanted one funeral and one viewing. At least that's what I seen. So I'm not sure why this family said that she didn't want a funeral and she wanted to be cremated immediately. I just don't see Tracy wanting to be cremated. I feel like the type of person Tracy was, the way that she loved her son, she loved her grandson, she would have wanted to have a tombstone and a place where they can go and visit her. I don't think for a moment that Tracy would have wanted to be cremated and for her son and grandson not to have a place where they can go and talk to her and visit with her. So I think that the sisters were lying. And Aries Girl says, if it isn't a season of family therapy, they don't need to be back on TV. And Aries Girl, they even tried doing the therapy thing, on the last season. And that was awful. Like, it didn't go over well. And I feel like they should do their therapy in private and not for the world to see because they're not really taking it serious. And it just becomes, an arguing match. So I feel like that they shouldn't even do their therapy on the camera. That's something that they should actually do behind the scenes. And I hope that somebody is, checking on Kevin Jr. because, it was also said that, he was an alcoholic and he was dealing with that demon as well, being an alcoholic and wasn't getting much support from his dad. So I really hope that somebody is checking on Kevin Jr. I know him and Tawanda are really close, but they don't live in the same state. And when you think about it, he lives in Maryland. Who does he really have to turn to? Him and his dad aren't close. His mom is no longer here. And his two cousins, they're not around. I mean, he does have Michael's other son. I think maybe, two cousins from Michael, but that's about it. Good morning, Nikki's News on Narcissism. Thank you so much for being here. So other than that, I mean, and I guess friends, he doesn't really have a support system in Maryland either, you know. So it seems like within this family, you know, they have to really take care of themselves. Like they just really don't have a village. And that's pretty sad, especially for the younger generation like Ashley and like Kevin Jr. to not have a support system. It's really sad. So, um, hopefully after, um, you know, all of this stuff that's playing out on social media, this family really take a good look at how their legacy is being played out on social media and they really get serious about trying to fix it. And Aries Girl says, doesn't Kevin have a half sibling? Yes. Kevin Surratt did say that he has a daughter and a granddaughter. So yes, he does have a half sibling. Good morning, Sharon. Thank you so much for being here. And I don't know how close they are because I've never seen a picture of Kevin Surratt's daughter. Um, I'm not even sure if I've seen a picture of the grandchild because, it had came out that Kevin Surratt had a love child on Tracy. Um, but that was never proven. And after that came out, they went on that marriage boot camp, and I think they did it just to get a bag. And, that came up, but he said that was never the issue. He said that he just happened to be at Starbucks one day with his grandson from his daughter, and somebody went on social media and said that he was at Starbucks with his child, and that's how the story grew legs. But he said that is not true, and that was his grandchild. That is what Kevin Surratt said. And Kevin Surratt did do an interview with Sherelle. I didn't watch the interview. I just seen snippets of it on somebody's channel. So I didn't actually go and watch the interview. But I do think Kevin is getting a bad rap. I even heard somebody say that the sisters are mad at Kevin because they said and allegedly that he gave Tracy HPV and that's how she got throat cancer. That is so disgusting. I hope that's not the truth, but that's the story that's being put out there is that he gave her HPV and that's why she had throat cancer and that's why she didn't leave, you know, her will or whatever, leave him in control of her will and her estate. And um I just hope that's not the case. And he was there for Tracy, up until her final moments. He says that he went to every single doctor's appointment with her. So he was very supportive, but I don't know if this new season is going to be about the sisters, especially Tawanda, revealing what Kevin Surratt did to Tracy. That might be the next storyline coming up because the way the season ended, it was like, that was going to be the storyline for the new season. Tawanda and Kevin going at it. So I'm not sure when the new season comes out. I haven't checked into that. But again, I don't see, anything that they have going on unless it's going to be more family drama. And Sharon says, This family is so messed up, in my opinion. I don't know if they can be fixed. Sharon, I'm starting to feel that way too. Honestly, I'm starting to feel like, and one of the reasons why I feel that way is because I don't feel like they're willing to do the work. I just don't feel like they're willing to do the work. It's just like they can barely sit down and have a conversation without getting into it. They are awful communicators. And Sandra is in the bushes, and she's speaking to everybody. Yeah, so I totally agree. And I think that Tony has always been the voice of reason, but she shouldn't have to do that. Tony has heart conditions along with her lupus. So I just really wish that she didn't have to be the one to always get the family back together. Like she doesn't really have a problem with Kevin Sr., like the other sisters, especially Tawanda and Trina, but I think that she's putting her health first. And at the end of the day, I would do that as well. Like at some point, you just have to let your family figure their shit out on their own because her health is more important than her toxic family members. And it's sad, that, she said on TV that she don't like her family. She loves them because they're her family, but if they weren't her family, they definitely would not be friends. And, that's sad to hear, but I can definitely, see why. Like they are just so toxic. And I'm not sure what it is about um Tamar and Tawanda, but those two ladies really don't like each other. And some people seem to feel like it's because Tawanda borrowed some money and she didn't pay Tamar back. But Tamar is such a giving person. I don't think that's what it is because um I don't think that Tamar would hold that over her head. Like she buy these random boyfriends these expensive gifts and she knew that Tawanda really needed the money. So I don't think that she would hold that over her head. I think it's something else. I don't know what it is. But I definitely think it's something much deeper when it comes to Tawanda and Tamar. But again, Tamar is definitely seeing a therapist and she is working on herself. And that's one of the reason why she, you know, doesn't go around her family a lot is because I think they take her back to that dark place. And that's understandable. Yes. But yeah, um, when I read, one of the comments, up under the last video that I posted, blaming Ashley, because she was 16. I thought that was awful because that just, lets me know how this person might feel if something like that were to happen with their daughter or with one of their family members, how they would treat the situation, you know. And honestly, I don't think, some people seem to feel like it's Tamar. I don't think it's Tamar. I think that Tamar would cut that man off if it was her, for sure. I think if nobody else would, Tamar would cut that man off because she called out JR for going on a date with a 25-year-old. So she is not about her man being into little girls. So I definitely feel like if it was Tamar, she would cut that man off. And Sandra P said, the network specialist, would you engage with the commenter? I'd be nervous because they could become toxic. We'll pretty much just say, thank you for your feedback. But one of the other commenters did engage with that person. I didn't engage with that person. And but this is my opinion and this is my channel and I can speak my opinion. I'm not going to go back and forth in the comments. Um, but you know, if somebody else wants to, that's up to them. But yeah, it I can see it becoming toxic, but yeah, somebody did respond to that person in, in the comments. And Mama Bees is speaking. And Sandra P says exactly what I do because I'm so new as a content creator. Gotcha. Yeah, it can get very toxic, and a lot of the other people that are covering this topic are not being very sensitive when it comes to this topic. Um, and they're putting a lot of blame out there. But again, how can you blame anybody um, for anything in this family when there is these generations of trauma? It's hard for me to judge anybody in this family at this point. And Mama B says, got my grandkids and 3-year-old wants my attention. Gotcha. No problem, Mama Bees. So yes, I honestly can't judge anybody in this family because again, they come from a generation of trauma. And it started with that mom and dad, Evelyn and Michael. So these women are struggling trying to find their place in this world and, what that needs to look like. And honestly, I don't think any of these ladies had perfect marriages, had perfect relationships. There always is some type of toxicity hanging in the wings when it comes to all of these ladies, even Trina. Even though her relationships on the outside it appears very stable, just watching them together, it does seem like there might be some underlying toxicity in their marriage as well. So at the, end of the day, I don't know if these ladies know what that's supposed to look like from watching their mom and their dad. And, they always say that the pastor's kids are the worst ones. And, that's no, shade to anybody, you know, who might be a pastor's child, or preacher's child, but they say that the pastor's kids are the worst ones, so, and they see a lot of stuff that the average kid might not see. And I believe that's because in, with black people, sometimes they look up to these pastors so much, and a lot of women secretly want to be with their pastors, you know, and not trying to change the subject, but there's, a lot of times these pastors, are approached by these women. So if they're not true men of God, you know, they have to deal with all of these aggressive women, knowing that this man is married, trying to come after the pastor. Like, I've seen both sides of that. I've seen where pastors, go after women in the church. That happened to me. And I'm not going to say that I was traumatized from that experience, but it made me really um nervous about choosing my church. Like, I'm very particular when it comes to choosing my church because, I did have a situation where I went to church with a friend, you know, and it wasn't her father, but her mom was married to her stepdad and he was a pastor. And I went to church with her maybe once, maybe twice. And then my friend had the nerve, even though this man was married to her mom, to come back and tell me that, you were the conversation of the boat trip with the man in the church. I never went back to that church again. I thought that was so disgusting that my friend would even come back and tell me, basically her stepdad was wanted her to hook me up with him. I thought that was so disgusting, and I knew that he was dating other women in the church. And Sandra P says 100% the pastors oblige them and they become like a deity, but he's human. Yes. So sometimes it's the women pushing up on the pastor, calling the pastor for help to come and do this. And then sometimes it's just a promiscuous pastor. So, you know, I'm pretty sure Miss E probably went through a lot if he was that type of pastor. So at this point, it seemed like it gave all of the sisters anger issues. And Aries girl said, "Oh my goodness, a network specialist. He was gross. He was so gross." And on top of that, she revealed some other stuff about him. He was addicted to porn. He was cheating on his wife with multiple women in the church, and he was addicted to porn. And it almost made me feel like maybe something happened between him and her because what made him so comfortable asking the daughter of his wife to hook him up with a friend. And then after I stopped going to the church, she was my neighbor, actually. He came over to visit her and, he asked me, why did I stop coming to church? I was just like, oh my freaking God, this must happen all the time. But yeah, he wanted to know why I stopped coming to church as if it wasn't obvious. Yes, Mama Bees, that was really disgusting and cut off like right then and there. But this is what goes on in churches. I mean, when it comes to Black families, there is so much, generational trauma and curses that we have to deal with. And not saying that it doesn't happen in other races because I'm sure it does, but I can only speak about my, culture, you know. And I mean, by the time you experience all of this stuff coming up as a young child and you become a teenager and on into adulthood, you know, it's very hard to establish relationships, marriages, because you've been through so much before you even started dating. And then, you're kind of like taught that, you should be a wife, so at the end of the day, that's usually the goal for a lot of women. So a lot of women are just willing to tolerate anything just to say they have a husband, like Letitia and Miss Wanda. Like, and not to change the subject, but I just can't imagine how Tisha would be okay with everything that Marceau has admitted out of his own mouth to doing. Like, girl, and you continue to say that you don't have any infidelities in your marriage. The moment your husband looks at a video of another woman, that's infidelity. Infidelity doesn't have to be a physical act. And Sharon says, in my opinion, some women look at the pastor like they're God, and some pastors take advantage of this. They know how to pick out the weak lambs. They absolutely do. One of my friends was going to this mega church, mega church, and she was at CVS, uh, just a drugstore, and some kind of way she got into an accident with this pastor of this mega church. So he exchanged numbers. He was just like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of this for you." So, after they exchanged numbers, he started calling her on a regular basis. And, she started going out with this man, even though he was married. And they, formed this relationship, and the way this pastor was set up, you could never get to him. You had to go through the women in the church, his secretary, whoever, his assistant was, you could never get to him. And Sandra P says he probably hit her on purpose. I mean, you would think that's what it was, but it came to the point when she told me after doing all of this research, there was a whole Facebook group or some type of um website or something that women would go to report him. And it turned out that he did this. I don't know the number, but he did this to a lot of women to the point where they started a group and they would talk and describe his penis, the way it looked. So these women knew that, okay, you seen the same thing that I seen. Like, these women would be in this group. Like, it was so bad when all of this was exposed. Obviously his wife left him. He ended up losing the church, because people were suing him. Like, it was really, really bad. So, these pastors, like, sometimes you just can't trust them, you know. And I got to a point where I would just watch church online because I have just seen a lot when it comes to pastors. And Nikki says, I agree with Sandra P. That could have been the way he, met these women. And this is what I also heard about him. Like, once the women started like getting attached to him, because he didn't really want them to be attached to him. He just wanted to sleep with them. Once they would start getting attached to him and becoming stalkerish, he would cut them off. And not that they were being stalkerish, they were just trying to hold him accountable or say, like, when am I going to see you? Or just call him out or ask questions. He would literally cut them off and they would have no more contact with him. And then he would move on to his next victim. Like, it was so disgusting. And I think he kind of went MIA for a while. And then I think I heard somewhere years later he was trying to come back out, start a new church and everything. But it was really disgusting. Now, to change the subject really quickly, did you ladies see that interview? I never watch Tasha K's videos. I haven't done it in a long time. I used to, follow Tasha K until she got so toxic and I stopped watching and I unsubscribed. But I was actually just doing some research on some other stuff and I pulled her up and I see that she did an interview with this lady that had been in a relationship with Keith Sweat for on and off for 27 years. So this is what, she did last night on Friday. Have you ladies seen that? And apparently, I didn't know Keith Sweat was so old, but he's about 70 years old now. And this lady was just talking about, how toxic he is and the fact that, at the end, when he started treating her so badly and just talking to her so badly, because I guess he was a little stressed out. Apparently, he owes a lot of money to the IRS. But before they got back together this last time, because they had broken up for 6 years, he asked her to move in with him, but apparently moving in was not her moving into the same house as him. He had another house that she would be staying in, and it wasn't his main house. And Sandra said he's AB Lisa Wu. He's been old and drunk. Okay, I haven't really been following Keith Sweat. That's why I didn't even realize that he was 70 years old at this point. And Nikki says, I don't follow that content creator. I don't either, Nikki News. I was actually going back to compare what Ariane Curry said in that, interview that she did with Tasha K versus what we just found out that happened back in 2020, I'm sorry, 2022 when she came on that set. I believe Sunny said it was 2022. And I believe that interview took place in 2022. So I wanted to see her mindset around that time when that was going on, compared to when she ambushed that set. So that's what landed me on Tasha K's page to see that she was doing an interview with Keith Sweat, mistress of 27 years on and off. And Sandra said Keith Sweat has a tour even with all his song credits. I saw him with NE many times. He's competing with 50-year-olds. This lady, she said that when she met Keith Sweat, she was 17 years old. So apparently he likes young girls as well. She said she was 17 and he was 40. She says he never asked her age. And she said he flew her out immediately after he met her at one of her concerts. He said he pulled her on the stage and they exchanged numbers or whatever the case may be. And he said by the end of that week, he was flying her out to Atlanta to be with him. New Edition. Okay, I saw him with New Edition many times. He's competing with 50-year-olds. Okay, gotcha. Yes, girl. I can't always do those acronyms. Gotcha. And Aries Girl said Keith Sweat was all the rage in my junior high years. I bought his first album on cassette tape. Gotcha. And the young lady even said that she didn't even know who Keith Sweat was. She said the only reason she knew who he was is because her mom gave her a Keith Sweat CD. So that's how she knew who Keith Sweat was, I guess, to even show up at his concert. And she has said that he definitely like younger girls. And she said that he never even asked her age. And finally, once she turned 18, she says, do you even know how old I am? And she says that's when she told him that, she was 18. Like, this has been going on in Hollywood for a very long time. And it's so disgusting. And Sherman said, Aries Girl Podcast, he had it going on. He did back in the day. So he's kind of in my age group. And Sandra P, I think me and you are the same age because I believe that you said you were 54 on yesterday on your live, and I'm 54 as well. So he would have been, you know, who we were, listening to, I guess. And Nikki said, I was a junior high school too when Keith Sweat was popular. Um, if he's 70 years old now, then yeah, we would have been probably in high school. And Aries Girl says, yes, Sharon, 1987 was his year. And Sharon says, Aries Girl podcast, I agree. So this lady has seen him date. She says he likes him young. And Tasha K did ask him, are y'all still having, sex? And she was like, yeah. She says, well, when is the last time y'all had sex? And she said it was in June. That was the last time that her and Keith Sweat had sex. And allegedly, she put out some other disturbing things about Keith Sweat. And it's getting to the point where you really feel like you don't know these men. She said that he had a bunch of women's clothing. Now, I don't know how much I believe her for the simple fact of Keith Sweat had two different houses. And, she's seen all of these women clothes, and he told her, and there was also some shoes, and he told her the clothes are not yours, but the shoes are yours. So she was wondering, like, who did these clothes belong to? So the first thing that came to her mind was that Keith Sweat was a cross dresser and that he was actually wearing those women's clothing. Now, I know she's a woman scorned. She dedicated 27 years on and off with this man for him to when, she got tired of the abuse and she told him that she was going to move on. He wanted her out that same day. She said he wanted her to get out immediately when she had gave up, her place in Texas because that's where she's from, and he wanted her out immediately. And she asked him like, "Can you just give me a couple of months?" And he didn't want to do that. And she said that he sent four big men over there to harass her and try to get her out. And then he took her to court and he basically said that she was stalking him, he couldn't get rid of her, all these things. So I can see where she's bitter. So I don't know if I believe everything that this lady is saying. And Sandra says, I'm 54 and I won't date 70. Gotcha. Yes, that is a big difference. And but I have to say that my husband was 11 years older than me. And Sandra P also said he has other women, probably. Lisa Wu has nasty breakup, and she never said he crossed. Yeah, because I believe that's something she probably would have put out there. And Aries Girl says, wait, I think Keith was born in like 1960, 1961. He still sounds too old for her if she's younger than us. So if he was 40 when she was 17, then he would have been 23 years older than her at the time. So that's a lot of years. And it's not even about the amount of years, it's about the age that she was when he started messing with her. She was underage. Now, if you're 50 and you decide to date a 70-year-old man, nobody's really going to look at you crazy. But if you're 17 and you're dating a 40-year-old, that's disgusting. And apparently that's something that he did on a regular basis. So, I mean, and I don't want to tarnish like my image of Keith Sweat because who's to say that she's just not a scorned woman and, these things aren't true, you know, but these men out here, they're looking pretty bad, especially the ones in Hollywood and the celebrities. And Aries Girl says, I don't believe you should be dating anyone underage. Plus, I'm not dating a man old enough to be my dad or young enough to be my child. Exactly. Dimsday rule. Yeah, that's pretty disgusting. And even like he has kids in his 30s at this point. And she said that once she started dating him and she really did her research, she started seeing where he had been sued by women, saying that he got them pregnant. One woman, it turned out to be true. And I think that child is like 33 years old now. So, they're grown. But yes, like I guess when he was on tour, he was sleeping with these women and some of them was coming up pregnant. So, yeah. Like, I'm not one to do deep dives. That's just too much. I don't like Keith Sweat that much to do a deep dive, but I'm sure if I did, I would find out some very interesting things about Keith Sweat. But apparently, he's still doing well for himself, because, he has multiple homes and, I believe he's still living in Atlanta, but that was very mean spirited of him to move this young lady away from her home in Texas, where she was established, had her own place, a good job, and to have this woman to leave her place and her job to move there to be alone all the time and, just be mistreated and verbally abused. Like that is so mean spirited. And she also said that Keith Sweat is showing signs of dementia. She says there are times when she feels like that he don't even know who she is. So, it sounds like, that he might even have a touch of dementia or are in the early stages of dementia. So, I don't know how, much longer he's going to be able to, perform. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't want that to get out there. And that's probably why he's so mean because, if you're familiar with dementia, you know that there's times when they're aggressive, there's time when they're irritable and things like that. So he could definitely be dealing with dementia at this point. So I wish him good health and healing, you know. And then somebody tried to come out and say something about him, and I want to say Aaron Hall, and that, they spent a lot of time together, if that's the right person. The interview wasn't very long, but Tasha K was trying to help this woman, get her confidence back. And, because she was very submissive during the entire relationship. Now, this is what I want to ask you ladies. What do you think about a woman that is very submissive to her husband and pretty much goes along, husband, boyfriend, whatever the case may be, and let him pretty much do whatever he wants to do? Um, do you feel sorry for that woman, or do you feel like she gets what she gets when, you know, at the end of the day, she ends up, being treated very badly by her husband? Do you feel like she has to take any accountability for allowing her husband to treat her that way? What do you ladies think about that? And I'm not judging anybody, but at the same time, I do believe that some women find themselves in this type of situation just because they don't have a backbone. And there is a certain type of man, especially a narcissistic man, that will search out these type of women. And Aries Girl says, at first I feel sorry for these women, but after they just allow it, I start to not care. It's how I feel about Tisha Scott. Exactly. And I'm glad you mentioned Tisha because she's a perfect example of what I'm speaking of. Because I feel like she will just let Marceau do whatever he wants to do. And I think once she made up in her mind that she was just going to cheat back, I think she was okay with everything. But as a woman, you can never cheat back on your husband enough. First of all, that's disgusting. And second of all, you're going to look like a hoe while he's going to look like a stud. Like, he's not going to get the amount of ridicule that you're going to get for cheating on your husband. And Sandra said, I used to feel sorry, but over years, women have gotten mad at me, so I live and let live. Okay. And why did they get mad at you, Sandra P? And Aries Girl said, it's not the 50s and 60s anymore. Women have no excuse not to be able to support themselves in this day and age. That's a good point. And Nikki said, facts. Women should now be prepared to support themselves. Exactly. Trying to be, and I'm not saying there, anything wrong with wanting to be a stay-at-home mom, but in my experience, after being a stay-at-home mom and trying to get back in the workplace, trying to become an entrepreneur, it's going to be so hard. So I feel like that you should have something going, you know, at the same time, even, if it's, very low key, you know, you should have something going on, something that you can earn money doing. And Sandra said, Tisha's mom believes any man is better than none. They typically look down on Melody. Like the fact that we almost look at Melody like she's a hero for overcoming all of her obstacles, and the way that these people want to put her down for overcoming all of her obstacles, like it's so disgusting. And that's why we have to start holding these women accountable. Because guess what? These women are having women. You know what I'm saying? They have daughters, they have granddaughters, and this is what they're teaching their daughters and granddaughters. So we have to start holding these women accountable. And Sandra said it was family and he was isolating her, and I pointed it out. Hmm. I'm trying to figure out what you're talking about, Sandra. And Sherman said she should take some accountability if she allows him to treat her this way, but maybe she was raised in a family like this and she's used to this. I don't feel sorry for her though. Okay, got it. And here's the other reason why you have to start holding these women accountable is because say these women are being abused and a family member steps up to protect these women and somebody gets hurt. That's another reason why, at some point, we have to start holding these women accountable. And Sandra said this person was 50-50 with costs within the marriage and 100 of costs with their two kids. These red pill traditional, non-traditional men. Okay, gotcha. Okay, you said it was a family and he was isolating her and you pointed that out. Gotcha. And so, you know, sometimes it's hard to come to a woman and tell them that their man is cheating. Um, I've been in that situation where I knew that somebody's husband was cheating on them. And I asked another person that's very close to the situation, should I tell them that that person is cheating? And the response I got was that some people want to know and some people don't want to know. And basically, what I took from the conversation was the person that was, experiencing the infidelities within their marriage, that they wouldn't want to know. That that person feels like as long as they feel like nobody else knows, they're okay. And that's what I kind of get from Tisha as well. Because as long as she can continue to lie and say, there's no infidelities, she's okay with her husband cheating. So because that was a feedback I got, I didn't say anything and I've had other people come and tell me to say something to that person, and I chose not to say anything because a lot of times when you approach a person to tell them that, their husband is cheating, they turn that around on you. And now you become the bad person, just like what happened with Mel when she was trying to let Tisha know that Marcel was cheating. Tisha turned that around on Mel and said that she was trying to ruin her marriage. And Sandra P said she got mad at me and thought I was jealous for some reason. That's usually how it plays out. So when it comes to those type of situations, Sandra, I don't get involved because at the end of the day, a woman is the first person to know that her man is cheating. So she already knows, honestly. So for somebody else to approach her, you know what I'm saying? You're obviously going to lose a friend and possibly a family member because, you know, now they feel some kind of way at the fact that you even know that their man is cheating. They're embarrassed. And I kind of feel like that's what happened with Ashley and Trina. If it was Trina, allegedly, because I don't know, I feel like she was very apologetic at first, but then I think embarrassment set in. So I felt like she was just embarrassed at the situation. And it wasn't that she didn't believe her niece, because with the history that Gabe had, I'm pretty sure that she knew it was true. And on top of that, if it was done through a text message, there was proof. So she couldn't deny it. So what I was going to say, going back to not holding women accountable when they stay in these type of relationships. um there was a person that I knew when I was growing up. um this person was dating this man. It wasn't her husband. This man was a lot older than her, and he was very, very abusive. And I think there was even maybe alcoholism and drugs involved as well. But this lady went and told her young son, I believe at the time he may have been like 16 at the time, 16, 17, that her boyfriend beat her up. So she went and told her 16-year-old son that her boyfriend beat her up. So her 16-year-old son went and shot and KILLED his mom's boyfriend. So now he's in prison. So it's hard for your family to watch somebody abuse you. Okay. So when you stay in those type of relationships, now you're putting a lot of other people at risk because no father, no son, no brother wants to sit by and watch his sister, daughter, mother be abused by a man. So at some point, they're almost forced to step in. And then guess what? If they do step in, you might end up being back with him like a month later, if not immediately. And Aries Girl said, as a woman, we need to have more of a sisterhood with one another versus jealousy, competition. Totally agree. And she said, it always seems to be the problem on Love and Marriage Huntsville and life in general. Yeah, it all stems around jealousy. And like I've heard a lot of other people say, like Tisha is so, so, so jealous of Mel. It's just like if she can reincarnate herself as Melody, I believe she would. Like she wants to be Melody so, so bad. And honestly, I think the reason why it's Mel is because Mel is probably the only role model that she sees in Huntsville because it seems like a lot of the other women are doing the same thing she's doing, which is being promiscuous, tolerating their cheating husbands. So Mel is the only one that's doing anything that we know of that we see in Huntsville that's doing anything any different. So maybe that's why Mel is her role model. I don't know. But, you know, it seems like over the past week or two, Tisha's reputation has went down in the gutter, as well as Ariane's reputation. Like these women's reputation at this point is trash. And especially Ariane. Like it's going to be hard for her. She even stated that she can't get a job. I think that at this point, she needs to move away from Huntsville. Like, girl, why are you still there? Your reputation is ruined. I mean, like, you're not progressing in Huntsville. Like, why are you staying there? And Aries Girl said, another problem with Tisha is that she wasn't raised to love and appreciate her beautiful dark skin. She and her mother are jealous of people with lighter skin. As a dark skinned woman, it enrages me. Exactly. Like on one of Wanda's last live, she knows that we say this a lot about her and Tisha. So she made it her business to, talk about her beautiful black skin. Wanda, we know that you're just talking. You don't believe that from within. Like that really truly has to come from within. And you're just saying that because you've heard a lot of people say, a lot of content creators that you guys feel insecure about your dark skin. So, like we've always said, Wanda and TK listens to the content creators a lot. So they know what we're saying. So that's the only reason why Wanda made those statements. That's how I feel about it. And the fact that, you know, Melody, doesn't talk about those people, and the fact that Wanda continues to talk about Mel, it's just so disgusting. Like, move on already. And the fact that Tisha won't stop her mom from talking about Mel is disgusting. So I think that everything about the Scots 1.0 and 2.0 is going to be, is going to come out. It's going to be exposed in 2025 down to Basement Billy because there's something weird about that whole dynamic with Basement Billy as well. And we know that he was touched you know what I'm saying, by a man. And if we're being quite honest, it had to be, allegedly a man in the family. Who do you guys think it was? That's a family of a lot of brothers. So I feel like for an outsider, and not saying that it couldn't be an outsider, but for an outsider to, touch that man when there's so many brothers is very questionable. So I feel like it was somebody within his own family unit, a brother, a dad, just somebody within his household. That's how I feel. And again, that's something that happens a lot in Black families, you know. So, I don't know if that's why, they won't say anything to him. We have found out that that's the reason why they let Martell do what he want to do. It's because they don't want, Martell to out them. Is it the same thing with Basement Billy? Is that the reason why y'all don't call him out on the BS? It's because y'all don't want him to expose your family secrets? Hmm, that's something to think about. We all know that that's what happened to R. Kelly, and that's not to make any excuses for what R. Kelly did, but that's how his life started. He was a victim, so he victimized other people. And it's really sad, but this is something that we go through in our Black communities, and we just need to, talk about it more and make people aware and not be ashamed to talk about it, because the more you're ashamed about talking about these topics, the more it's going to be swept up under the rug, and the more people are going to hide it, you know? And I even think back about what happened to um the lady that was victimized by Nicki Minaj's husband. Like, the people that was taking care of her, her family literally wanted this girl not to say anything. They wanted her to sweep it up under the rug. They didn't want her to, come out and tell her story. And Nikki said, "This is very true. Like, this happens more than I care to talk about. This happens a lot." Her own family did not want her to say anything about the fact that she had been RAPED by Kenneth Petty. And if your family don't want you to talk about it, like, what do you do? Like, you're already coming from a very poor family, staying with other people that's not really your family. Like, yeah, this is very sad that, women have to go through this. But when women decide to have courage and tell their story, it makes other people comfortable enough to tell their story as well. So all I can say to the women out there is continue to tell your story, because telling your story is going to make you stronger. So continue to tell your story so that other women can feel strong enough to tell their story as well. That's the only way that, we're going to be able to move past some of this stuff. Because if a man feel like, if they abuse you, and if they feel like it's going to get out, maybe they'll make a decision not to do it. But if they have been able to get away with it for years, for generations, they're going to keep doing it. So, you know, I mean, TikTok, I mean, if women want to use TikTok as their source to tell their story, so be it. I'm not opposed to it. You have to start somewhere. And Sharon says, the network specialist, I agree. Something definitely happened in the Scott's family, and they're repeating this behavior with others. It's sad, but that doesn't make it right. Exactly. It's not right. And being a victim should not make you want to go and victimize others. But unfortunately, we see it happen all the time. Like I just named several situations where this could potentially be happening, where a person was victimized and they turned around and victimized somebody else. Even Ashley, the person that I started off talking about, the same thing happened with her. She was, somewhat victimized by her aunt's boyfriend or husband, and she turned around and victimized her sister. We know the same thing happened with R. Kelly, and the same thing could have potentially happened with the Scotts. And it's really not that far-fetched when you think about the fact that these brothers are willing to have sex in the same room with each other. Like, that is absolutely disgusting. We all have heard about friends, you know, doing threesomes and running trains on girls, but brothers swapping fluids, that's disgusting. Exactly. Sharon was right on point. So I don't care how the Scots try to clean this up. They're disgusting. And I don't know what, if anything, Tisha might come out and say about all of the rumors that's coming out right now, but they're looking like trash right about now. And I really hope this show ends because that's the only way they're going to move on. They're not going to quit the show. The only way that the Scots are going to move on is if the show no longer exists, because this is the closest they've been to being famous or being a celebrity, and they're going to run with it. They're definitely going to ride with this show until the wheels fall off. It doesn't matter how bad it makes them look, they don't care. Like, I even thought about the fact that, Tisha's an AKA, and, I mean, she doesn't think about like what her soror sisters think about her, what they think about her mom doing all this ranting on social media. Like, Tisha has no standards, none at all. And it's really hard to watch because our young women are looking at this stuff. And I'm pretty sure, you know, that's what happened with Ariane. She came from a very toxic situation. It's alleged that her mom also dated married men. So, one thing about children, they don't listen to what you say, they watch what you do. They repeat what they see you do, which is why little Knox is cursing and violent, because that's what he's seen from his father and his mother. And Aries Girl said the Scott brothers are a joke. Behind the cameras, they are ex addicts, but on camera, they want to be philosophers and sound like educated businessmen and pillars of the community. And you know what? That's the disgusting part about it. Like, we see you come on here, and somebody, who was it? Somebody said that they hate to hear when people call Maurice Luther King. And I kind of agree. To say Martin Luther King's name in the same sentence with Maurice is degrading to Martin Luther King. So I won't use that. But that's absolutely what they do. They want to come on like they're philosophers and so well educated when we know the truth. Like, I could see if we haven't even found this in black and white, but we have. Hey, to Latrice, thank you so much for stopping through. And she says that she agrees. So it's just like, come on. Like at this point, they're looking like the bottom of the barrel and they think they're on top of the world. And when Maurice told Martell that Melody became famous because he cheated on her, are you freaking kidding me? First of all, Martell became, in my eyes, he's not famous because there's a lot of people that want nothing to do with him. And then, second of all, Melody became famous or a celebrity because of her own actions, because what we have seen from her with our own eyes, being a strong Black woman who was able to overcome everything she went through in her marriage with this side chick to start over from scratch and, become a millionaire again. All these multiple businesses, being a great mother to her kids, and for him to try to, tie that to Martell. And that's the reason why Martell has become the person that he is because nobody wants to hold him accountable. So in turn, they've created this monster and they continue to do so. It started from his mom, then it went to his friends. I mean, nobody wants to hold this man accountable. These women that he date, so it's disgusting. And for Maurice to say that, like, guy, mm, I tell you, these Scots, they're really a piece of work. I just ain't never seen nothing like it. I've never seen a reality TV show like this. I've never seen a family like this. So, yeah, this is really hard to watch. And I hope, like, some people have speculated, maybe um Mel will reveal that she's either left the show or she plans on leaving the show on January 11th, because we all know that that's her favorite number. I'm so, so here for that. Okay. I hope that she announces it on January 11th at 11:11. That would be the best news that we all can get is for her to announce her departure from this show on January 11th at 11:11. I'm here for it. And everybody is speaking to Toot Latrice. Yes, guys, these YouTube streets have been so busy. And I thought about talking about Choo Choo, but then I said I'm not going to make a whole video about it. If she comes up during this conversation while I'm drinking my coffee, it's not a problem. But I'm not going to make an entire video about her because this year I really want to practice giving people more grace. Okay. And not that she deserves any. I'm not saying that because she is the choo choo that everybody is calling her. Um, but I don't want to mix too many deep conversations with that toxicity. So that's why I didn't want to make a whole video about her because that whole situation is about as toxic as it can get. Like, I can't see anything worse happening than what has already played out on this show. Like, almost every worst case scenario that you can think of has happened on this one show, including somebody being deceased, which is why I don't understand how this show can continue. Now, Arion, wanted to be famous. So now she's going to be famous for being a shareable side chick. I don't think that's quite how she wanted this to play out, but it looks like that's where her fame is going to come from. And that's so sad. And I just wish there was somebody in her family that could reach back and save this person because it is really sad to watch. It is very hard to believe there is not one person that can get through to her stick skull. Not one person. Good morning, Jazzy J. Thank you so much for stopping through. Like to have the realization, and I'm pretty sure, don't get me wrong, that somebody has tried to talk to Ariane. I'm sure somebody has tried to talk to her, and I'm pretty sure she doesn't listen. So, what do you do with a person that doesn't listen? Again, that goes back to us holding these type of people accountable. Once you've done all you can do, and once you've said all you can say, at some point you have to let people hit rock bottom. And I think that Ariane is getting ready to experience rock bottom. I don't know what that's going to look like for her, but it's getting ready to happen. There's literally nothing left. She has been made to look so bad, out here on these social media streets. So there's nothing left but for her to hit rock bottom. I think that's the only thing that's going to save her at this point. And Mama B says, please hit that like button, 8 likes and 12 in the chat, please. And thank you. Thank you so much, Mama Bees. And yes, guys, hit that like button. It's free 99. So, yeah, Ariane is on her way to, you know, just hitting rock bottom. And I really feel bad for her kids because, you know, unfortunately, when people have nowhere else to turn, we all know how that plays off, how that plays out. And Aries Girl says, Arian needs a fresh start. She needs to change her name legally and move to a new city and state. She's the type of person to hit rock bottom and start digging, not doing anything to get better. Exactly. And I said that previously on this live that she needs to move out of Huntsville. I don't understand what's keeping Ariane in Huntsville. And unless it's what do they call that syndrome when you fall in love with your victim? Munchausen syndrome, something like that. It seems like, you know, maybe that's what it is for her when it comes to Martell. Now, think about this. Stockholm, there you go. I think Munchausen, that's when you get sick all the time or something like that. Stockholm syndrome. You got it, smart ladies. Um, so, you know, maybe it's Stockholm syndrome. I'm not sure what it's going to take for this girl to wake up. Her daughter's father really does need to get custody of her daughter because for a girl to see her mom allowing a man to treat her the way that Martell is treating her, imagine what she's going to allow when she starts to date because she's going to think this is okay. How can, as a mom, you tell your daughter not to do things that she's clearly seen you do in your relationships? It's not going to happen. She's going to feel like this type of treatment is okay. So it's really sick to think about. The fact that she's stuck with, Martell because obviously she doesn't have the finances, you know, that's when a family member is supposed to step up. I'm sorry. That's when, a family member has to have a family meeting and do an intervention. And Aries Girl said Paris needs therapy. She's already seen too much from Ariane. She definitely has. You can just tell. I mean, we haven't heard her on a live in a very long time, but before, when we used to hear Paris on the lives, she talked very grown and very harsh. Like, even when at maybe 5 years old, I always think about that video that Here for Hot Tea used to play on her intro all the time with Paris throwing her Mickey Mouse at Ariane. That was when I knew that, Paris, there was no hope for that child unless her daughter gets custody because she threw her little Mickey Mouse toy at her mom and told her to talk to Minnie or whatever the case may be at like 4 or 5 years old. That's the beginning of a problem child. And now Knox is doing the same thing. And Sharon said her daughter will repeat the same pattern if she stays with her. Exactly. And, it seems like her daughter was a lot like Knox, with the aggression. And now we all know that Knox has called her a liar. He called her a bitch. And we've seen him hitting on her. Now, the fact that Martell is in his life and he still acts that way, hmm, we all know how this is going to play out. And Sharon says both her kids have seen some stuff. They really have. And then Paris used to have to watch Knox when, Ariane decided that she wanted to be on social media. She never really gave him any attention. And Aries Girl said, right, Sharon, because Ariane is repeating her own mother's patterns. Exactly. And Sharon said, Aries Girl podcast, so true. And that stepmom, Paris's stepmom, I know that she has a lot that she could say about Ariane, but I think it's that father that's keeping her silent. But I would not be surprised if even she came out to spill some dirt on Ariane because this is getting disgusting. And I always knew that there was something weird about the relationship between Marceau and Ariane. I just really couldn't put my finger on it. But I definitely think that they've been together. And maybe it happened because Martell was using him to take her money, to help her fix her car, to do all of these things. And maybe during their friendship, they formed a romantic bond. I mean, a cheater is a cheater is a cheater. Okay. So if she could cheat with Martell on his wife, you know, and see Marceau cheating on his wife with other women, like, who's to say that they wouldn't cheat together? And Nikki says, Aries girl, I agree that Ari needs to change her name. No self respecting man is likely to marry her if she doesn't, since marriage is her end goal. You know what she had the nerve to say on TK's interview? Because, TK said, I know someday you want to be married. And she says, um, I don't know if I want to be married. She says, because, and I don't know if she gave a percentage, but basically what she said is all men cheat. So basically, when she said that, what I heard is that you're willing to settle for a cheating man because you have accepted in your head that all men cheat. And Aries girl said, all of the Scott's brothers have probably had quality time with Ariane, unfortunately. Mm-mm-mm. And she says, exactly, Nikki. And everybody said you hit the hammer on the head or the nail on the head, Aries girl. And Nikki said, my husband isn't friends with single women like that. I wasn't friends like that with married men when I was single. That complicates things. It really does. And, you know, I do feel like when you're married, you definitely need to have, um, some good quality married friends, as well as a few single women friends as well. But the problem with this situation is these aren't good quality I'm sorry, married people. These married couples are very toxic and, just bad people. So sometimes, even though you think you're hanging around a group of good quality married people, stuff like this starts to come out. And honestly, I don't think that they're going to find a better class of people in Huntsville, unfortunately. This just seems to be the norm, for the people that live in Huntsville. And I hate to say that about a whole entire city, but look how long that these people were able to hide their secrets. The fact that these people were able to hide their secrets for this long, you know what that tells me? A lot of people in that city are doing the same thing. That's why they're keeping their secrets. As many millimeters as there are on this platform, why haven't this information been revealed so long ago? There was not one person that was willing to get in one of these content creators' inboxes and reveal this information about these people. And we're going on what? Season 9? We're in season 9, going on season 10 if they get renewed. And nobody has revealed all of their dirty little secrets, even though they're having threesomes, foursomes, fivesomes, sixsomes, and not one person got mad and revealed the secret. So that tells me that this is going on a lot in their community, unfortunately, which is why Ariane needs to leave Huntsville because it's not looking good. And I know once this divorce I'm sorry, this court case is over with Mel and Martell, she's going to be out of there so fast. That's what she's waiting on. All of this to be over so that she can move out of Huntsville. There is no way I would want to live in a place like that. And Aries Girl said the main issue is that birds of a feather flock together. The cheating is what connects all of the men on the show. Then some of the wives started off as side chicks. It started off doomed. Exactly. And at this point, they might as well be swingers because everybody is doing the same thing. Like, there's really no coming back from this. Like, there's just too much dirt on their names. So, how do you recover from this? because no matter what they say, I mean, people are going to just look at them like they're swingers at this point. And I don't think, just like Ariane, I don't think no other man is going to want to date Tisha if she were to leave Marceau. For Martell to literally call her nasty on national TV, like, mm, it's almost like they're going to stay together just because, you know, maybe they can't do any better. And Aries Girl says, exactly. After seeing the Scots in the cesspool in the Dominican Republic, I'm convinced they are swingers. Absolutely. And after seeing Marceau gently touch Kimmy on her hair during that episode in the park, that field day, that was so weird. I was already convinced once I seen the cesspool in Dominican Republic, but when I seen him touch Kimmy's hair, not only did I think they was swingers, I felt like at that point they swapped wives. And that's disgusting. And I also always thought it was weird that Tisha would always go to Maurice to talk about Marceau. It was like she was going to her other man. I always thought that was weird how close her and Maurice were and how he would always defend her when it came to Marceau. I thought that was weird. Because, first of all, you really shouldn't be that close with your brother in law. Everything these people do is weird. And every girl said, yeah, that made me think wife swapping was happening when Marceau, when he was touching Kimmy's hair. And Sharon said, when he touched her hair, I cringed. That's how I felt, Sharon. When he touched her hair, their whole dynamic just changed before my eyes. And Sandra said, Maurice is gentle with Tisha in a way he's not with Kimmy. Exactly, Sandra. I feel like he treats Tisha better than he does Kimmy. Like their whole family dynamic is so weird. Their whole family dynamic. And sadly, I think Monster is going to have a lot of his dad's traits because he's looking forward to going to college so that he can meet some girls. So the fact that he chose to move his son in his home with the lifestyle that he knew him and his brothers had is disgusting. It really is. You should have left that boy with his mama because if Kimmy has already said out of her mouth she doesn't want to talk about it, but you come home at 5 o'clock in the morning, your son sees you come home at 5 o'clock in the morning. Your son is old enough to get on social media and see exactly what people are saying about you. And you thought it was a good idea to move your son into your home with this type of behavior. To me, Maurice is the most disgusting one of them all. And she said, that part, Sandra. And Mama B says, I believe the Scots wife swap. I definitely believe that they wife swap. And I definitely believe that they marry the opposite of what they're attracted to. So I believe that Maurice is attracted to dark skinned women, and I believe Marceau is attracted to light skinned women. And that's so odd that they would go so far as to marry these women knowing that that's not what they're attracted to, and then choose to cheat with people that they actually are attracted to. And Aries girl said, knowing Maurice, he wanted Monster living there to avoid paying child support. That's all it could be, really. I get the feeling Monster loathes his dad. That's what I get from him too. And I also feel like, because initially he wanted to move Monster's mom, Kiowa, to Huntsville. I think he wanted Kiowa close so that he could cheat with Kiowa. And I believe that Kimmy was very opposed to that, but she was going to go along with it. But I'm not sure if it ever happened. And Sandra said, agreed on Maurice as worst. That's why Marceau blasts him. Exactly. I think Marceau blasted him because he just like us. We just get tired of him, like Mel said, with all of these speeches or whatever the case may be, and then his actions say something different. Like, it is so disgusting. And then the fact that you want us to look at you like this business professional or whatever the case may be, and you literally sat on that stage, and I believe he said that he's been up with up to 5 people in one day. Like, that is so disgusting. And the fact that these men are married and they chose to go and get vasectomies, like, how can you be any more clearer that you're cheating on your wife? Like, that is so disgusting. That's why I said there is nothing else that these people could do on this toxic show that they haven't already done. There's nothing else that they can show us. We now believe that Destiny has, slept with Martell while he was married to Mel. You know, we also feel like she could have slept with, some of the other Scott brothers. Like, this is almost on the verge of incest. And Sharon said Maurice is the leader of the pack. He's definitely the leader of the pack because isn't he the older brother, from what I understand? And Aries Girl says, and notice how Maurice took up and went for Martell so hard after the struggle Olympics. You wouldn't even know that Marceau was his blood brother. Exactly. And honestly, even though they act like they're so close, I'm not really sure that these brothers are as close as they portray themselves to be. For Maurice to go and do a scene with Martell after that crazy scene when Martell went off on Marceau, that was a little weird for me. That was very weird that you would go and do a scene with this guy. It was almost like you were choosing sides, because there is no way. Even if I didn't get along with my sibling, there is no way I'm going to sit up with this man after what he said about my family. No way. Like, what does Martell have on Maurice that has not been put out there? There has to be something. There has to be more than we already know. And Aries girl said Maurice doesn't want Martell spilling his secrets like he did on Marceau. I can see that, but still, I think I would have approached him behind the scenes, but to come out on TV and do a scene with Martell after all of that, no. Like, if I was Marceau, I would cut Maurice off, point blank and period. Maurice would be cut off because at this point, I can't even trust you as my brother. Like, you hanging with the ops. Marceau has made it clear that he's done with Martell. So for your brother to tell you and tell the world, and for his wife to tell the world that they're completely done with Martell. And for you to decide it's a good idea to still film with him, to still try to blow his head up, to still not hold him accountable. What does that say about you, Maurice? You don't see anything wrong with that picture? Because honestly, if he's saying that about your brother, obviously that's going to lead us to believe that you guys are all doing the same thing. So why would you want to continue to be friends with this guy? So yeah, like this is toxicity if I've ever seen toxicity before. Like I've just really never seen anything like it. And at this point, there are no words. So I'm just waiting to see what CK is going to come out and announce, because it seems like he's just dragging everything along because he doesn't want to come out and say that the show is done. So he's just dragging everything out because he's feeling some kind of way. He's in his feelings because he's been made to look crazy out here on these social media streets. So hopefully, guys, we'll get our answer soon. Like, I have no words for these people. At this point, I don't know. Most of us been stopped watching the show. It's more entertaining on YouTube than it is on the actual show. So I just don't know what to say about these people because it just ain't getting no better. And it's up to us to continue to watch the toxicity, which is why I believe Mel is leaving this show, because I think that she no longer wants her fan base to be attached to this toxicity. And she knows that once she leaves this show, we're leaving this show. So whether we review the show, talk about the show, we're all attached to this show. So I think at some point she's going to step up so that we can all move on from this show. And Sharon says, I really hope she's leaving. I mean, honestly, that would be some great news. That would be the best news that we could probably get in 2025, because at some point we have to cut off the toxicity. Real talk. And Toot Latree says, I want to see the dynamic between Mel and Maurice. He tried to dominate her in that clip. At this point, too, I honestly don't even like her in scenes with Maurice, because I feel like Marceau gets his whole life when he does a scene with Melody. I feel like he's so physically attracted to Mel that he can barely contain himself when he's in a scene with Mel. And honestly, the way I feel about Marceau, like, he doesn't deserve to breathe the same air as Mel. And that's how I feel about that situation. And Aries Girl said, when Mel leaves, the ratings will plummet and the show will have to be canceled, hopefully. And I hope that that happens sooner than later. I really do hope that that happens sooner than later, because I don't know how much more I can take. When you're connected to something, you want to know what's going on. So it's hard for us to be able to cut it off, because we have to follow the story because we're so invested. But at some point, I would love to be able to cut it off. And Toot said, Maurice really dislikes Melody. He can't hide it. Keep in mind, Toot, Maurice likes dark skinned women, and Marceau likes light skinned women. So he's not as infatuated, by Melody as Marceau is because, again, that's not his type. And Toot Latrice says, boom. So, he could take Mel or leave her, to be honest. And Mel is the only one that truly calls him out on his BS. So he really not feeling her. And honestly, I think that he had something to do with influencing Kimmy to dislike Mel. Exactly. He had something to do with Kimmy because most of us will say that in the beginning, we somewhat liked Kimmy. And when Kimmy called Letitia out and told her that if she wasn't her sister-in-law, that they wouldn't be friends, we got our whole entire life when Kimmy said that. But after she made that statement, everything changed. And she became Team Scott. So again, I believe that those Scott brothers influenced Kimmy against Mel because with everything that Mel was doing for Kimmy, like I can't see Kimmy having this strong dislike for Mel when out of everybody on the cast, um, Mel was doing the most for Kimmy at that time. And Sandra said, I did like Kimmy season one, two or so. Exactly. Now, early on, the only thing that I did not like that Kimmy did was when she and Tisha called Mel bougie and say that she's always on social media. That was like pretty much the only thing that she did, early on that kind of pissed me off. But other than that, I didn't really have a problem with Kimmy initially. And Sharon said, I never liked Kimmy even from the beginning. Sharon, you seen the signs, huh? I had high hopes for Kimmy, even when she was on, I believe it was HGTV, when she was into, real estate, helping people find homes. She was really headed down the right path when she was still, excuse me, friends with Mel. But after her friendship was, severed with Mel, everything started going down. She wasn't as ambitious anymore, her or Tisha, either one. When they no longer had the support of Mel, everything started going downhill from there. Guys, I don't know if it's just me, but when I drink coffee, my mouth gets really dry. I almost have to drink coffee and water at the same time. But that's what's going on right now. And my stomach is growling so loud because I've only had coffee. I haven't had my breakfast yet. And Aries Girl said, Kimmy annoys me. She made me hate the word however. Yes, however, and at this juncture, and the way she has to like make it linger out when she says it. Yes. And Toot says, that's me too. I drink them both at the same time. I mean, I can barely get a word out because my, throat is so dry from this coffee. And you guys are laughing. Yeah, that's really funny. But that doesn't take away from me loving my coffee, though. Seems like I can't get my morning started without my coffee. But again, coffee and water. So let me take a sip of water. So, two, have you been able to find out anything else about this whole situation that played out on yesterday? Because I know you be having all the tea too. Have you found out anything that we don't know? Toot says, I've been playing with my espresso machine. Okay. So again on yesterday, and we're gonna say this and then we're gonna wrap this up. We found out the day before that I believe it was the day before that Sunny came out and she aired um Ariane out. And at this point, we'll just say Choo Choo so that everybody know who I'm talking about. She aired Choo Choo out, because she said that, in person she looks good or whatever the case may be. So, she wanted to put that out there because we all know that, Ariane thinks she's that girl. So, Sunny came out, no biggie, and she wanted to address that situation. And she didn't really give much. She did say that something happened. Ariane showed up on the scene, and she wanted to call Marceau out, but instead Marceau ended up calling her out for something that he had on her. And him and Martell almost got into a physical fight. And so I guess somebody was telling Sunny that, they were in her inbox telling her that that content creator was talking about her on his channel. So she decided to pull up there. And then I think a few more people, and especially content creators, called Sunny out for not coming out with the tea. And so Sunny went live again to expose that what Marceau had on Ariane was the fact that he had seen a video of a train being ran on Choo Choo. So let's see where we go from there, because that's pretty much where I'm at. And Latrice says, only that Saul was allegedly in the tape. So, yes, we kind of put two and two together to figure out that the reason why Marceau didn't want to show the tape is because allegedly he's in the tape. And that would make a lot of sense. I think we kind of knew that immediately because where are you getting all these tapes from? Like, what person is going to just hand over or show you a tape with them running a train? I mean, I know these people are nasty, so I mean, that wouldn't be that far fetched. And Sandra P says, I tapped out. It was too much. Thanks to. And Toot said, that tape is what the deplorables were holding over the brothers. Okay. Hey, Cece. Thank you so much for stopping through. Okay. So, we're holding over the brothers. Oh, so you mean that tape is what Martell and Choo Choo was holding over Scott 1.0 and Scott 2.0. I think that's what you're trying to say. Allegedly. Got it. And everybody is speaking to Cece. And Toot says, someone asked Sunny directly. Yes, Sunny was called to the carpet because honestly, Sunny is so worried about being sued. Who's going to sue you, Sunny? At this point, CK barely has a job. And after everything that's playing out on social media, Even that producer job might be gone at this point. The own network is already tied up in their own litigation, so they don't have time to be out here suing little old you, Sonny, for spilling some tea on these raggedy ass people. Okay. And that's just how I feel about it. Like, nobody is going to hunt you down to sue you. You're no longer on the show. It's not that serious. And obviously, somebody helped her to figure that shit out. And Toot says, yep, the aunties got in Sonny's behind. And I'm glad they did because, I mean, why is it okay for some people to be out here dragging people and spilling all the tea, but every time you open up your mouth, you're threatened with a lawsuit? Like, Sonny, you too smart for that. If you can't make these people see, how is it okay for these people to, you know, drag my name and mention me on social media, but I can't retaliate and defend myself? Like, it's starting to look like Sonny is cray cray. Like, girl, you should be able to speak your mind when somebody mentions your name and bring you into something that you have nothing to do with. And again, the reason why Ariane Choo Choo is what some people have also named her Sherry is continuing to come out here and run her mouth on social media again is because she's not being held accountable, her or Martell. So until people start holding them accountable, they're just going to be loose cannons. So, thank you, Sonny, for holding her ass accountable. Like, you can't come out here and spray everybody else's tea and don't think for a moment that your tea is going to eventually come out. And Toot says, I don't think CK thought about putting her under contract regarding her producer knowledge. Exactly. So you think that he's basically just calling her bluff, Toot? Like, I do believe that she's getting calls, but what I don't believe is that they're going to actually go through with it. They're just using that as a scare tactic because I don't know if they're waiting on Mel to leave the show so that all of this can play out on the TV screen. Like, that's what it's looking like. That everybody got on board to, you know, force Mel off the show so that this show can become just as toxic as they want it to be because that's who they are. And Toot says, I think she can speak on the behind the scenes, but it's nothing they can do about it. Yeah, that's how I feel. What can they do at, this point? The fact that OWN is keeping these type of shows on air lets me, makes me feel like they don't have much going on over there at OWN. So I don't think they're going to be suing anybody. And I don't think they care about these people. The fact that they're willing to show all of this dirt on these people on their network, they don't care about these people. They're just using them to make money. So they care nothing about these people's real lives. So I don't see OWN suing anybody, and I don't see Carlos King suing anybody. And honestly, if they were to try to come after Sunny to sue her, I know without a shadow of a doubt that all of these women who have quit the show or the women that are thinking about quitting this show, they will all rally together to go after that entire network. I don't want that. I don't even want to play with it like that. So, Sonny did the right thing because hopefully everybody will shut their mouths at this point. So Sonny did a big thing, but I'm going to tell you why I think Sonny spilled the beans. I don't think it was out of fear of being sued. I don't think it was because the aunties called her out. I think that Sonny spilled the tea because she did not want to lose the support of the millimeters. And that's just my opinion. Because when you think about the support that Sonny does get, not all, but most of the support that Sonny gets is from the millimeters. So basically, she would have to start over with her fan base. And she was smart enough to pick the winning team. So I believe that Sonny did not want to lose the support of the millimeters. And Cece said, I don't think Carlos would want Sonny to open the Pandora's box of info in a court case discovery. Period. That part, Cece. Like, Sonny really has more power than she thinks she has. She has a lot of leverage to use on Carlos King and the OWN network. And so does a lot of other people. So at this point, Carlos King and the OWN network needs to be quiet and eat their food. Like, they don't have a fight in this game. They really don't. So I'm not sure why she's allowed them to hold suing her over her head all this time. I feel like she's the one with all of the leverage. And, like some people have said, I really wish all of the ladies, on CK's show would get together and do a class action lawsuit against him. That's the only way CK is going to change. Because it's just like at this point, I don't understand why people still sit down with him. I don't understand how some people still look up to him. Like, I just don't understand. Like, he's the biggest wolf in sheep's clothing I've ever seen in my life. But for some reason, some people look up to this guy. But I'm so glad that Melody called him out as the toxic leader that he is. That was the first step in the right direction. So I'm so glad she did that. And then, it was exposed yesterday that she unfollowed Carlos King. We don't know when that happened. Um, but it was realized on, I guess, yesterday. So something is getting ready to play out behind the scenes, because one thing about Mel, she knows that once we realized that she had unfollowed Carlos King, that it would be all over social media like it was. Okay. So she wanted us to know that she has severed ties with Carlos King. She wanted us to know that. So, she knew that when that was put out there, that we would have a good idea of where this is going. So I'm so glad that, at some point, somebody figured it out, because that says a lot. Blackiana, that part, like, there is no way that these two could still be working together and, you know, not on social media together. And in the day and time that we live in, when you block somebody off of your social media accounts, that means that you don't F with them no more. Okay? So we know exactly what that means. So I think what we're watching now is just the remainder of the episodes that they, you know, um, filmed probably back in March, April or so. But I don't think there will be no new episodes with Melody. And truth be told, I think that Sunny even thought that she would be in more episodes. And I feel like, the bomb was dropped. She kept watching and watching. I think she even thought she was going to be in more episodes. And that didn't happen. And I think that's when she decided to come out and say that she wasn't coming back to the show. Because when you think about everything this woman risked, her and her husband, everything that they lost, the time they lost for this dumbass show, this toxic show, to not even really be filmed that much and be filmed in these ridiculous scenes. Like they're really going to buy a house from Martell, the scammer. Like, who's going to do business with Martell? Martell probably don't even own that house outright. So these manufactured storylines, and you chose to risk everything you got going on for this show? Hmm, yeah. Carlos has played in a lot of people's face, a lot. And even when you think about the fact that he just lets Martell do whatever he wants to do, no accountability, and just pretty much torment every cast member. Like, who does that? That says that you really don't need to be in a leadership position. And Cece said Carlos punished Sunny by not showing her and Moses in more episodes, which affects their pay. More shoes for Carlos. That's what I'm saying. And guys, what I don't understand is, and tell me if you seen something that I didn't see. What do you guys think that Sunny did to make CK dislike her so much? Like, what do you guys think it was? Because it had to be something that, played out behind the scenes, because I haven't seen her do anything that would warrant this type of treatment from Carlos King. Like nothing. Do you think it's because she refused to be the villain? Like, what is it? Do you think it's because he's just as jealous of Sonny as he is with Mel, and he just have this jealousy for successful black women? Because I'm really not understanding what it is. Or do you think that maybe Sonny stood up to him, being that she doesn't really need this show? Cece says, I don't think Carlos likes Sonny's interviews and lives against their storyline. Okay, I can see that. He didn't like the fact that she was doing interviews. He didn't like the fact that she did that interview with Queen Sheba. And Toot Latree says he wanted to bring her down like he did with Nene. Wow. I mean, it just seems like he has this thing where he's always trying to bring a successful black woman down. And as content creators, we've talked a lot about the fact that he must have had a really bad relationship with his mom. Just for him to come out on his messy Mondays and talk about the fact that him and his mom had such a good relationship, I don't believe it. I believe you just heard, the content creators talk about that. So you wanted to come out and clear it up, and say that you and your mom had a good relationship. You can't have a good relationship with your mom the way you treat women. And Toot says Nene was going through Greg's cancer when he had the cast attack Nene. Like, are you serious, Toot? Like, I didn't even know that. Because I thought they were pretty cool. Did they talk about that on the interview that he did with Nene? Sharon said she was a strong woman who spoke her mind and wasn't a pushover. I think that had something to do with it, Sharon. I think unlike these desperate people that are, a cast on this show like Scott's 1.0, 2.0, Destiny, she's not desperate for a job or to be on this show, you know. And I don't know if you guys seen the movie that the 2 well, I think one of them is a series, and then, one of them is an actual movie, which is a very good movie that Sunny plays on Tubi. And Cece said, at Toot Latrice, for the life of me, I don't understand why any of the Real Housewives of Atlanta ladies still deal with Carlos. Nene, Cherie, Portia, Candy, and Phaedra don't, though. Me either, CC. Like, don't they see that he's a snake and how he turns on people? Hey, beautiful Linda Gamble. Thank you so much for coming through. Like, for real. Every time, even to this day, and Candy is very sensitive, very, very sensitive. But even to this day, every time Candy speaks on, what happened between her and Carlos King, she gets choked up. Like, she can't even talk about it without getting emotional. So what Carlos King did to her, it really cut deep. And that says a lot about, the person that he is. Like he's very low down. So, you know, like you said, who was that? CC, I don't understand why any of these women have anything to do with him. I just really don't. These people, they've seen what he's done to Melody, and women need to really stick together. If you hurt one of us, you hurt all of us. And for whatever reason, women don't take notice of anything until it happens to them. As long as it's not them, they're okay with it. And that's so disgusting. If he does it to one woman, he'll do it to all women. And that's pretty much what he showed us. When you start counting up the numbers of ladies you know, that, he's wronged. Like all these women can't be lying. And I don't understand why women don't see that and why they still choose to sit down and interview with him. Like it's ludicrous. And it makes me start to look at these women sideways. Anybody that will actually sit down with Carlos, women and men. And Toot says, I think the Dr. Shanita and Messy Monday had unseen ramifications. Okay, so what you're saying, Toot, is that once they did that whole thing on Messy Mondays, that something happened behind the scenes, like he was held accountable, and we just don't know the details of that. Is that what you're saying, Toot Latrice? I think that's what you're saying. And I believe so too, because Dr. Shanita got people in high places. I can definitely see that happening. So I think he was definitely punished for that. And Toot says it was a catalyst. It really started at the podcast. So you think it started at the podcast and then it just snowballed from there when it came to the network. And that's why more than likely Carlos was demoted. Because when you have multiple women coming out and saying the same thing, the network just can't continue to ignore that. They think they're in a big lawsuit, honey, but if they get a class action lawsuit, it's a wrap for the own network. And Toot says, after the podcast, he did the Mariah Hulk interview and he was asking specific questions. Go to, oh my goodness, I'm glad you brought that up. I said the same thing when he did that interview. I said, he's doing homework. He's trying to find out how much she's getting paid for, being the executive producer on this show and pitching this show to the network. He wanted to know how much she's getting paid, how that all works out, because he was trying to get mail up off of that show and over there pretending, oh, I love the girls. No, you use the girls. And Toot said, then here comes Messy Mondays, and Heavenly was out of control. Wow, wow, wow. I really didn't make the connection between him sitting down with Mariah Huck and the Messy Mondays. I didn't make that connection, but I did know when he went to see Mariah that there were ulterior motives. They talked about doing this together, doing that. None of that stuff panned out. Like, oh, he's such a snake. And Nikki said, good morning. She's speaking to everybody. And Toot Latrice said he really did allow the defamation of his cast to go too far. Messy Mondays is his personal for profit platform, almost coercing. Exactly. His Messy Mondays is where he could go and let his co host say the things that he's not able to say as the producer. Now that's really messy. Just like Melody said, what do I look like talking about the same people who helps to put money in my pocket? Like that is so ridiculous. And Toot said, in my opinion, cast to appear in order for his profit. That's all it's about is Carlos King's profit. He don't care nothing about your reputation. He don't care nothing about your marriages, your family dynamics. It's just all about the bottom line for Carlos King. And Sandra said, quickest way to success is through Black women support. The boys know this. Look at what they did to Claudia Jordan. Exactly. And the only way to change this is we got to stop supporting people that don't support Black women. Real talk. Whether it's a man or a woman, if they don't support Black women, we need to stop supporting them. And Toot said Sandra P, Gen Extra, they always play that same game. They play that same game, and guess what they do? They stick together while we're over here feuding with each other. They play us against each other. It's just like, you know, they utilize our dollar, you know what I'm saying? Our reputations, our marriages, our children for their bottom line. And us as Black women, we go along with that. And I really hope that we can start to see changes. Like, I can't even believe that Funky Dineva still has a platform, to be honest, made up of predominantly Black women. After every disgusting thing he said about Black women, he still have a large platform to go on and spew out, you know, more stuff about Black women, degrading stuff about Black women. There's a lot of Black women who have very, very low self-esteem. And that's all it could be is low self-esteem. Because what would make you want to support a man when he said what he said about Kiki, God bless the dead, and the fact that her family did not come out to defend her is disgusting. the things he said about Mel, like when he did that, and Wanda has all of this smoke for Mel, and she didn't come out and say anything, but recently she did want to come out and blame Mel, you know, like it's really disgusting. And these people, they vibrate on a very low level. So nothing that they do really surprises me. It's just who they are. And the fact that Mel's kids are getting older now, you know, they're able, especially Tank, they're able to go on social media and see all of this stuff that's playing out. And I believe Tank knows it all because he's very smart. I think it's high time for this show to end. I really do, because it's gotten to a point where all of these kids are going to be scarred by this TV show. And honestly, if I were Mel, I would not want my name and my brand being attached to such toxicity. That's just my opinion. So I'm hoping that it's about the end of the road for these people. And now they're going to have to start over, because they will no longer be able to ride off of Mel's coattail. They're going to have to start over and rebuild their lives, because I honestly believe they're going to be starting at the bottom now that all of their secrets have been revealed. And Sharon said, sadly, in my opinion, some women hate other women more than some men. Definitely. And the other thing with that, Sharon, is some women, because women are so jealous and toxic sometimes, they choose to just have male friends. They would rather be in the company of males than they do some women. And that's no shade, but that's what it's come to. And Linda said Melody is going live at noon Central Standard Time today. Okay, awesome. I'm definitely going to have to check that out. And she said 100, Sharon. And thanks for that information, Linda. So, yes, I'm in the Eastern time zone. But guys, I am getting ready to get out of here. If you haven't done so already on TikTok. Okay, gotcha. And what I love about this community is um the millimeters and the male supporters, they will definitely share her videos, and you will definitely get a message that Melody is live. Every time Melody is live, whether I know it or not, somebody is going to hit me up to let me know that Mel is live. So I never miss any of her lives, because we definitely support her and share her videos when we can. Absolutely. So, guys, yes, if you haven't already, please like the video. I really appreciate you guys for hanging out with me this morning while I drink my coffee. So now I'm going to have to actually get me some food in my stomach, because, my stomach is growling so loud, I can barely think. And Toot Latrice said, be sure to register. She's giving out cash apps. Okay, definitely will do. And Sandra P said, thanks for the live, and thank you guys for being here. And Aries Girl says, great show, The Network Specialist. And I really appreciate you guys for coming through and hanging out with me this morning. And I guess I'll see you guys over in the chat on Melody's Live. You guys have a great weekend, and we'll talk soon. And bye for now.